Hello, friends. We're here again.
Back once again after 20 years.
Oh, that's irrelevant.
We're on a delayed response right now.
Are we all secretly tired? Probably. But we could use a pint. And you know what? That's appropriate with our movie, The World's End. I'm Random Bystander here.
I am the Wash.
And I am not a robot.
You're a blank.
Yes.
Does anyone know what robot means?
I think it means the word slave.
Very good.
Has anyone in the last 3.5 minutes come up with a better name than robot?
Let's get out of the whole robots thing.
I'm afraid we've drawn a blank.
We need a word for them, we need a word for them, and we need a word for us.
I'm getting confused with all these pronouns.
What's a pronoun?
Are they one of them? Or are they one of them? We're not talking about the movie.
Well, I mean, we
are. We are talking about The World's End, 2017, directed by Edgar Wright, and this is our That's About Right podcast. Forgot to name drop that. And this is the finale of the Cornetto Trilogy, the 3 flavors Cornetto Trilogy, or the Blood and Ice Cream Trilogy. Although in this case, there's almost no blood, which is very shocking. I feel like...
At least not red blood.
I feel like they specifically like blue ink just so it's, the blood and ice cream doesn't apply because there's no blood and there's no ice cream.
I mean, you do see something at the end, but so
you do see something at the very end. Although that one is purely for the fans out there. I feel like if you don't know the Cornetto Trilogy, it's like, what is that?
Why?
It's kind of weird.
It's just a weird joke about how he misses food that's bad for you.
Oh yeah, that's right. Or organic food. That's true. Yeah. That's true.
All right.
Although, what are we gonna do? Like eat the wrapper?
Hey, it's desperate times. Anyway, let's talk about our experience with this film.
Oh my god! Before we do, because we've done this like at one point in this podcast, and then we forgot about it. If you like what you're listening to, please check out our other stuff on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Subscribe to us at the WRK in progress the YouTube channel, and also follow us on Twitter where we post the podcast episodes at WRK Podcast.
Right.
And also follow each of us because we each make content in varying degrees of sporadicism.
Right.
With that, let us get right into it with our early histories with this film. Am I the only one that has seen this in theaters?
I didn't.
Okay, there we go. So,
so yes, you are.
So okay, so I'll start with that then because I was becoming huge fan of Edgar Wright films, and this ended up being the first Edgar Wright film I ever saw in the theaters. So it holds a very special place. Like I remember like getting really into Hot Fuzz and Scott Pilgrim. It's pretty good. But it was just waiting for the third film of the Cornetto Trilogy because Hot Fuzz is like the best movie ever in my opinion. And I just heard that there was gonna be a sci-fi because the third flavor was of the Cornetto was mint, so they're going with green for aliens. And so all I knew was that it was gonna be something to do with science fiction, aliens, and I came into this did I even see a trailer for this? I don't think so. Like I came into this as blind as I could possibly go, and it was a pretty damn good experience to just like watch it all unfold. And then of course once it came on the home media, I was ravishly consuming it and just taking in all the joke, because man oh man is this packed with so many different like callbacks and foreshadowing lines.
Oh my
especially
god.
Especially the first quarter of this film. There's just it's very clear. We'll talk about it, but it's very clear that there's like a constant impending doom with all the lines that they're talking about. That's pretty much it for me. How about you, Random? What is your
I don't
history
remember
with this film?
I don't remember how I saw this film.
Did I show it to you?
I'm pretty sure you did, or at least that's my default answer whenever someone asks me about, have you seen The World's End? Oh yeah, a friend showed it to me. Because I assume that's there was literally a point where you introduced me to so many movies, and I just assume World's End was one of them. All I remember is just being like, all right, this is all right, the opening's great. I just remember being fascinated with the music in the opening, especially. But we'll get to that. And I saw the movie. I was like, okay, it's about some guys going to a bar, but and I was like, if something's going on, something's gonna happen. Edgar Wright this is not just a simple bar hopping comedy. And then we got to the 35-minute mark, and I remember just being like, okay. And I would just and then I just went for the ride. And I remember liking it. At the time, I liked it more than Shaun of the Dead, but not as good as Hot Fuzz. And I've seen it a couple times since then. I actually bought the DVD. I don't have a working DVD player though, but I was still able to watch it. Yeah, I actually brought that DVD with me as well when I went to college. When I binge watched Hot Fuzz, I just didn't watch it. I watched Hot Fuzz, and that's about it. That's all my history is with the film. Nothing really memorable history wise about it. Just I saw and really liked it.
Yeah. All right, and now we'll leave off with Kirbyfan.
So, unlike Hot Fuzz, I had already seen Edgar Wright movies at this point. Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. Hadn't seen Scott Pilgrim yet, but I had seen those two, so I was ready to go for World's End. It was a long time. It felt like a while, because I saw Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz within weeks of each other, and then 3-4 years later, that's when World's End came out. I did not see it in theaters, but I do remember with The Wash. I do not remember if Random was there, but I do remember watching it for the first time with Wash. I was getting into it, and I did like it. I do remember screaming at the 35-minute mark, and I remember Wash laughing very hard at my reaction because of how loud and surprised I had gotten.
I have a feeling I was there too, because I think I remember
if you were there, you were laughing as well. You had already seen it.
Because
I don't remember this, but it sounds very much like you to scream. Yes,
that's what I did. And when it happened, when I watched the movie yesterday, I screamed again, even knowing it was coming. But I remember, I do remember being underwhelmed. I didn't dislike it. I did like it, but compared to Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, I was underwhelmed. And then, as I put it, the twist happened, and the whole movie changed from there. It's like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, how it's just two completely different movies. I think this one's the most noticeable of the three, though. I feel like, well, I mean, we'll get into that. But I remember once the twist happened, it was a very fun ride, and I liked it a lot more. I want to say it was my least favorite, though. It didn't hit me like Hot Fuzz did, and at the time, I didn't like Hot Fuzz nearly as much as I like Shaun of the Dead. Whether or not that's still the case, we'll find out.
Yes.
But that's what my experience was, and then I watched it yesterday.
I watched it today.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Poor you.
It's more fresh in my mind. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, who wants to summarize the plot? Do you want me to give it? No, I'm doing it for Baby Driver.
The floor is all yours, Wash.
The
floor is yours.
So in this case, we have it starts off with a monologue by Gary King talking about the best night of his life when he and his 4 friends went out on a pub crawl, which is basically going to it's like a planned route of trying to go to as many different bars in one night, where we have a drink in each bar or pub in this case, and in this case it's the part of the Newton Haven, the Golden Mile, where you have 12 pubs, 12 pints among 5 friends, and they tried. They failed, and Gary King had never, ever let go of that. After, at this point, 23 years, he was still listening to the same music, still driving the same car, and just still stuck, and deciding, like, I'm gonna get the band back together, and just, we're gonna do this properly. We're gonna go to Newton Haven, and we're actually gonna finish the pub crawl. Unfortunately, in the middle of that, turns out actual shit is going on. So it starts from being about like a pretty sad case of a guy in a midlife crisis trying to relive memories with friends that are that are just his enablers, and suddenly becomes the world is ending. The world's end. It literally, the final pub is the world's end. In fact, all of the pubs, on top of being like references to what's happening in the story, those are all real. Those are all real names for famous bars, including the world's end. And they just like happened upon this. But yeah, it's that's the long and short of it, really. It's the world is ending, and Gary King is just trying his best to ignore it and just finish this damn pub crawl, to the detriment of everyone, including himself.
Yeah, that's about right.
Huh?
That's about right.
I understand the joke. So where do we want to start?
The opening is fantastic.
Oh, the opening! Oh, good God!
The opening, I love it. I seriously love the screamadelic music that opens after Gary King does his monologue. Like, the monologue itself is great. It's classic Edgar Wright montage. It's like something you would expect from Edgar Wright film right from the get-go. But just like the music afterwards with Gary King getting ready while we are slowly see all the boys that he mentioned, all of his friends grown up doing their own thing. It's just great editing,
Absolutely.
great style.
I love the 90s, the early 90s soundtrack in this. There's a ton of early 90s, like 70s rock in this, and you can tell that this was also like Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg just reliving their 90s and reliving the music that they were listening to around the same age as Gary King.
The opening's great, but you know who's in that opening? Gary King. I feel like we got to talk about him.
We have to talk about Gary King. I mean, he is the integral. He is the core of the film. The universe revolves around Gary King. Gary, King of the humans.
He's presented as like
horrible,
so unlikable, but at the same time, like, he's a very unlikable. He puts himself and others in detrimental harm. He is reckless. Mm-hmm. He is obnoxious. He's loud. He's gross at times. He's
selfish.
Very selfish.
You remember when, when it was revealed that he never that the registration was still under his friend's names, which is why his friend was getting all those like points and tickets.
Yeah.
Grief.
Not only that, he lied to his group of friends that his mom died of cancer. What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's
But by
really
the way, that
bad.
was like so. Yeah,
I know it was a necessary plot point, and I know it was probably the only reason his friend who got into an accident with alcohol, which, by the way, they foreshadow it very well, and it pays off very well at the end with the scene between Gary and Nick Frost's character.
Andy
Knightley.
Yes.
He's not
Yeah,
from the Andes, though.
No, but we do have one of the Andes.
Yeah, one of the Andes is in it too. We'll get to that though. I guess the thing is though, no matter how unlikable Gary King is, I like him more than Scott. I don't know why.
I was gonna ask you, why do you like this character? Because I had a feeling that you like this character more
I
than
don't
Scott.
know. I think it's maybe because maybe it's because Simon Pegg still managed to produce a likable performance out of him.
I mean, Simon Pegg has to be a part of it.
It has to be. I don't think if this character was played by like anyone else, it probably wouldn't have. He wouldn't have been as likable. But you kind of see yourself rooting for Gary at some points, especially since the beginning. You see him talk about how great a shadow was, and then you just cut to him at an AA meeting, just looking miserable, and you kind of, I don't know, I hate that you root for him a bit, but like, god damn it, you kind of want to see him succeed, even though he's kind of an asshole to everybody else.
Especially like when you're rewatching this, like there's just so much pity, there's just so much sadness, that you get from Gary King, because again, it's like he's stuck. He's stuck, and he just doesn't like get over it. Like the multiple people had told him that it's like not everything has to be about that night, even though the movie is literally, the sci-fi element is literally about what happened that night with the meteor that struck the Earth. Like there's like in that AA meeting, it was like life would never get that good, and you know what? It never has. And he's just like suckling about this without realizing that that's like the saddest thing.
It really is
the best thing. The best thing was a failed pub crawl from 23 years ago. Move on.
Yeah.
Please.
I know people like this too, who are like, "Oh my god, high school was the best time of my life," and I'm like, "Are you sure about that?"
I think that's part of what they were aiming for.
Or college even too. Like, oh god, I wish I was back in college. I'm like, do you wish you were back? Really? We look at the past in rose-colored glasses, and Gary King is the prime example of that.
Absolutely. I think this is very, it's very appropriate for a finale of this trilogy, because when we think about this, like, Shaun of the Dead came out in 2004, 9 years before The World's End, and Space, which is where like the Simon Pegg Nick Frost duo really started to coagulate. That was in 1999, 2001. So at this point, it can definitely feel like we're just trying to be our younger selves, and there's just something sad about that. And let's explore that for 90 minutes, or actually like 2 hours. But yeah, let's just explore that for a while.
An hour 49.
Kirbyfan, what do you think of Gary King?
Have you two said all that you want to say about him?
Pretty much. He is funny. I will give him that. He does say some funny lines. I will admit that. Not as funny as Oink.
He has a ton of like wordplay that just comes out of him, especially like wordplay that he doesn't realize is wordplay. My favorite, one of my favorite jokes. It's not like a belly laugh, but it's just a smart joke, and I still think about it like every so often. Is he's chastising Andy for drinking water, which is stupid, but you know he's like beer is all he deals with. It's a bit ducky, isn't it? And Peter said it's not very PC, and Gary King said, "Get out of the 90s, Pete."
That's literally his character.
That's literally his character. Literally the whole thing is because he's stuck in the 90s.
He will not get out, and he's taking everybody with him.
Exactly. He's taken everybody with him. And there's something complex about that. However, I do want to hear what Kirbyfan said
Yeah,
about.
I think that's why we're fascinated by Gary King, and I like him more than Scott Pilgrim. Continue.
You guys
Kirby.
got it all out?
Yes,
Kirbyfan.
I think we're good.
Pixar-spective fans, you might remember a movie called A Bug's Life. You might remember how much I hate that movie and how much I detest Flick.
This is not a good
I
start.
like where this is going.
Gary King is worse.
Whoa!
I will take Flick over Gary King. I
Oh
hate
my
him.
god, what?
I detest everything about him. There is nothing redeemable, nothing likable, nothing interesting, nothing fun. The only positive trait that I can give him is that he's a realistic, as you two were saying, he's a realistic portrayal of somebody stuck in the 90s. What a miserable person to coexist around. I hate him. The more he spoke, he's annoying. He's not funny. I don't know what the hell movie you two watched. He's annoying as hell. He's talking to, I forget his name, about the door. He's like, oh, what's that thing on top of the door? A lintel. Anyway, like, this is supposed to be funny. He tells Andy that his mom died of cancer. The second he said that, you know he's lying. It's like, it's not...
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, to be fair, you could have been fooled a bit.
Edgar Wright is the one who wrote this? Something so, like, stupid?
I think it was him and Simon Pegg.
I mean, fair, but it's like... Okay, fine. Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg? That just makes it worse.
I'm just still shocked by the fact that you said he was worse than Flick.
He is! Fuck this guy! I hate him!
I think
what
what they were going for with the comedy in this was that the funniness would come from the reactions of everyone else.
Well, it's
Like,
too
being
bad
like-
that these are like, they're all the same people. There's like one personality trait that sets them apart, which they could be individually, like as a group, I don't mind them so much, but the problem with this movie is that everything revolves around Gary King. Nothing in this movie happens without Gary King. There's like two things. There's Steve and I forgot her name because I'm thinking about
Sarah?
Gary King.
There's Pete, Oliver, Steven,
No,
Andy,
none
and Gary.
of them matter. There's the relationship on the side of that lady that Gary King tried to be with, and there's Sam, thank you. I thought I heard Sarah. I was like, no, we're not going there.
I thought it was Sarah too. For
we're not going there. I lost my train of thought. I'm thinking about Sonic again.
Remember, Gary King. Gary King, get back to the anger. I want this.
So
we didn't get this in A Bug's Life. I want this.
Yes. And so all of this, maybe I wouldn't mind so much if, because I kind of said this before, but like all the other characters do are work off of Gary King. There are so few personality traits of literally every other character in this movie, except for like Old Man Basil or whatever his name was. That was probably my favorite character in the movie. Why do you think I drink out of this weird straw? But everything...
Not so crazy now, huh?
But everything is about Gary. Everything that the characters say. One character tries to call his wife. Nope, he can't because Gary King doesn't want him to. Andy's drinking water, but now he's taking shots because Gary King is annoying. Peter is reminiscing about his traumas of how somebody bullied him throughout high school and his whole childhood. The worst part of it is that he didn't even remember me. It's like, God damn. And what does he have to say? He shouts, shots! S-H-O-T-S! Because that's funny. That this is the guy we want to focus on. That's funny. This is good writing.
To be
That wasn't funny. That was not funny. I don't think that was supposed to be funny.
I think they tried to, because literally you hear Gary King go, "Hey, what's the matter, Pete? You could talk about it." And when Peter denies, he's like, "Listen, it's trust." He literally quotes something he heard in an AA meeting, like, "It's best to get these things off your chest and not bottle up." And he sounds concerning. And then Peter tells his story about it, and then it cuts to him, Gary King with the shot. So I could see the joke they were trying to formulate. It just did not land well at all.
I think it was straight
I
up
agree.
that
I agree. But this is Gary King. Everything he does is this. Like you were saying before with Peter's car and the points, there's that. lying to, everybody, but especially Andy, saying that his mom died, borrowing money from all of them so that he can pay back Andy to guilt trip him into going on a 12-bar spree or whatever. Specifically going after Sam because he found out that his friend was interested in her and still holds on to that 23 years later.
Yeah, that's specifically
because you can see that Steve still has something for her and he just wants to get laid because no, this is the worst character.
Well,
I will admit he is kind of toxic looking back on it. Yeah.
I can't stand him. And you know what? I am going to say this. When we watched Cars, I'm still bringing this movie up. When we watched Cars, this was the argument about Lightning McQueen. And when I was watching this, I was thinking about Lightning a lot. And it's like, first of all, like, Radiator Springs functioned without Lightning, but also Lightning, like, changed, became a better person. And, like, if that's not the direction this movie wanted to go, fine. But the world stopped revolving around Lightning. It never stopped revolving around Gary King to the very end of the movie. And that just drove me
everybody
insane.
moved on to moved back to like their own like sedentary lives and like just tries to continue on despite the
but do you want to know do you want to know what Andy says during his wrapping up monologue? He said, "I've never seen Gary again, and you know what? I miss him." Why do you miss this guy? Like that close to the end of the movie and they're still stroking Gary King. Like, stop. This character's the worst.
I love
you know what sucks? You know what sucks? The worst part? I'll spoil this. I legitimately like the movie. It's Gary King. I can't stand this guy.
So it's kind of like me with Scott Pilgrim and Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah. And I know when we were talking about Scott Pilgrim, I was like, no, the main character can't ruin the movie without no. And then it's like, oh, well, here we are.
I believe your karma is served.
Don't say anything, Squidward. Remember your karma.
Oh, and then it explodes. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. I agree. I absolutely agree that Gary King is despicable. The one sort of like closure where we actually see like Gary fess up is when he's sitting on the hill next to Andy, and he says for the first time in the whole damn thing, "I'm sorry," and Andy just says, "I know." As with all of the series, it's very clear that like Simon and Nick are the core of this, and the others are secondary. Sam, good lord.
Oh my god.
I want to talk about Sam. I'll talk about Sam separately. Good fucking lord. But yeah, Peter, Oliver, and Steven. Steven had something. He's kind of like in between, where he's a little more into everything, but you can tell that like, this is kind of weird. Pete is the scared one. He's the scared one.
And Oliver is the twist villain.
And Oliver is the guy that gets killed off first, and it's extremely obvious that he gets killed. It's so telegraphed that he gets killed off first.
From the very moment he gets out of the bathroom, too.
Yeah, not only that, but I remember watching this movie, I was saying, hey, wait a minute. Pete and Oliver are both wearing blue. Oh, fuck.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, no, it's once you notice that, you can never look away because it's so obvious.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah,
Oliver, or O-Man as he's called. It's funny because like,
he's a grump. I think he's a grump, but he's a different kind of grump from Andy.
Yes,
Andy has the.
I will agree. Sometimes, I'll agree with Kirbyfan that a lot of times the guys don't have too much personality differences.
The big reason why I remember stuff that Andy does is Nick Frost. It's not very much like the writing or the story.
Yeah, no, it's just Nick Frost being Nick Frost.
Yeah.
I will say, it is interesting seeing Nick Frost being not the funny guy.
Yeah, I did want to bring that up.
Yeah.
Because especially after Hot Fuzz, where we were giving Simon Pegg so much credit for playing against the role he always has.
Nick Frost.
Yeah, that's exactly what Nick Frost does in this movie. And it's like, oh my God, he's doing it just as good as Simon Pegg did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, he is so annoyed at Gary King. He's angry.
You empathize with him
everyone
too,
else is
because
just kind of like, oh, we're stupid for coming along, but he's mad.
Yeah, he's the one that like specifically calls out. Even when Peter is like, no, it's fine. It's like Andy's like, no, it's not fine.
Yes,
like,
yes. Oh my God, I was screaming. Yes.
Fan.
Thank you, somebody for trying.
If anything, Andy was the main character of this.
God, I wish. Oh my God. If the movie was about Andy trying to get his life back together and Gary King just being annoying, like I would have accepted it so much more.
It's a reversal of Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, it actually is, because like Ed in this case, like I remember especially remember when Ed would like, he had a phone call in the middle of a zombie swarm. It's like 2 seconds. like it's like, what an asshole. Imagine if that asshole was the whole movie. And like Shaun of the Dead didn't focus entirely around Ed. It focused on everyone, especially Shaun.
I like Ed a lot. And part of the reason,
I mean, you like Nick Frost a lot.
I mean, yes, but I like Simon Pegg a lot. Okay, I love him in Hot Fuzz. I love him in Shaun of the Dead. I love him in Space. One of the few things I loved about Space, Simon Pegg. I love Simon Pegg. He's incredible. He's in Phineas and Ferb. I love that.
Yes, I hope you guys saw the clip I sent you.
But here, and I mean, the one thing that I will give Gary King is that I love Simon Pegg. He nails the performance. It does exactly what he had. I don't think I don't think you could save the role, but it's kind of what you two thought. Again, what you two thought about Scott. You know, the actor did a good job. You know, nothing wrong with the actor. It's the character.
That was quite a lot. I'm very happy about that. We're getting into.
I'm starting to rethink my opinions on Scott versus Gary.
I mean, you know what my answer. I mean, based on the whole flick thing, but I
think I need to watch Scott at Pilgrim again. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I will say, yeah, I like Nick Frost in this movie a lot. He's justifiably angry, and it's great. The
best fucking scene in the whole thing was him. Was him like headbutting the teacher, the old high school teacher, whipping his shirt. It's like, I hate this fucking town.
It was so good.
And the other amazing moment, which is also involving Andy, just to show how great of a character he is in this, was when they're all drunk and Sam is suddenly part of the group, but it's like, oh, we gotta go for the crawl, and Sam's like, the crawl? What are you talking about? And then Andy said,
Gary thinks we should keep up with the crawl because they know what we're doing, but they don't know that we know what they're doing, and basically no one else has a better idea. So fuck it.
And then he punches a window.
It's so good.
The scene that, I mean, those are great, don't get me wrong, but the one that I'm thinking of is when the twist happens. Still a great twist. When the twist happens.
Yes.
And, you know, Gary's freaking out, and he storms into the bathroom to yell at him about lying about his mom. And Gary's like, look, the guy tried to kill me. His head's ripped off. And Andy's like, don't change the subject. That's what you always do.
And Andy's not having any of it. And literally, Andy's the last person.
And then they have the fight. Like, they almost die. There's blue ink everywhere. They discover that they're robots. And someone's like, I can't believe this. And Andy's like, yeah, I can't believe you lied about your mom.
To be fair, like, he's justifiably mad.
I mean, I get it. It's just like, that just happened.
Yeah.
That's no, like immediately after that. You have to remember, immediately after that, where he said, I can't believe you lied about your mom. And Gary said, it was a white lie. How is that a white lie? She's not dead, is she? And they were almost going to punch him again.
Oh my god.
They just finished fighting off aliens.
That's kind of the struggle with Gary King in this movie because like sitting through that, it's like, oh my god, Gary is awful, and like this plan, it just lines up so well for his own interest, and even to the point, even when it's very clear that this plan is no longer working, he's still stuck because he has to relive the one good moment, the last good moment of his life with that pub crawl, and it's like it's despicable and just tragic, just tragically awful person.
We were talking to change the subject a bit. We were talking about them for a while, then we talked about Nick Frost. Do we care about Oliver and Peter?
See,
that
like,
answers my
I
question.
felt bad for Peter, and when he became a blank, I was like, oh, is that the way that he had to? Not so much a fault to the movie, but just one of those things that's like, oh, did that have to be the way that he had to go? Like, oh. And then he was the one who laughed about, what was it that was on the ceiling?
King Gay.
Yeah.
King Gay.
He's the one who laughed about it for the longest, and I was like, all right. I mean, that's funny. But I mean, that's it. I can't tell you anything about Oliver. I don't remember his job. I don't remember his family. I don't remember anything.
I remember his father who just got mad at Gary King the moment he walked in.
Oh yeah, that was a character. I forgot that was a character.
Yeah, we all forgot about his father.
He's very rich. Is his character that he's the rich friend.
The only moments I remember are the moments where that monologue about the bully, which was, I'll admit, pretty powerful if it wasn't ruined by a joke. And oh god, is that it?
I mean,
the part I remember was what happened like right before he died was when the old bully actually confronts him and tries to apologize, and Pete just beats the shit out of him, and it's like, it's not worth it. It's like, yes, it fucking is, and then he runs away, and he runs back with this really limp branch. It's like it's not at all like a strong branch. And he's just trying to like beat the robot with not a thick branch. It's like flopping all over the place, and it just makes it look more like sad and pathetic.
I mean, he's drunk, so yeah.
Funnier for me.
It is funny, but like you said, it's also sad, and that describes if it is anybody like Peter's almost as pitiable as Gary, like. But in a different way. Like, Gary's like, oh my god, he's destroying himself. Pete's like, oh, he's just he doesn't know what he's doing.
There's definitely like every character in the of the five. There's like there's pity. I don't know. Maybe not Oliver. I can't remember. But there's a sense of pity to be felt for all of them, I think.
Oliver, he's just more the corporate sellout, which I think is what they were going with him being murdered first, because he's the first to join them.
Oh yeah, because he also had because he was constantly connected to the network with the headset in his ear.
Oh yeah,
that was the folk. Yeah, that's right. That was what they used to look like. They were that chunky.
They were.
With Peter Pace, I feel like what they were trying to go for was, especially when his blank self, which is really it's a duplicate of his personality. It's just that like he knows that he's not real. But he goes back and he has. It looks like he has like a better relationship with his family. Whereas in the beginning of the film, when you're starting to like cycle through and seeing what all the characters are up to, like Peter Page, he's just kind of like ducking behind a newspaper. Like he doesn't really want to get involved with the family. He doesn't really, and it's only at the very end where he actually like engages more. And I think that's what they're going for. That he's just kind of scared of that sort of familial commitment. But they don't go into that at all.
Yeah, they really don't.
It's part of me just like reading into like the very beginning and the very end.
If anything, Gary just only makes jokes about, oh, you got to talk to your missus, and that's it.
Oh yeah. Well, that was with Andy, but yeah.
No, he made that joke. He was referencing Peter because he's like Peter goes, I got to talk to the missus about that.
Yeah. Since when you have to talk to your wife? Since marriage. Yeah.
I don't know. Peter, I think, is underdeveloped. Oliver, I like what they do with him, but yeah, he gets killed off very early, and Oliver becomes the character.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that like Oliver is killed off so early on. And he's replaced so early on that you barely get a sense of him as a person.
And he's so
he's fertilized very early on.
Yeah,
he's fertilized very early on. Good. Most. Yeah, that's right.
I forgot about that.
Beyond that, I think it was just that they were going for a guy who's. I mean, from high school, there was in the flashback, like he was talking on his cell phone and everything like that. So it's like it's clear from a very early age that he was all about like about networking and being and getting network. I'm pretty sure he was the one that was like passing around like business cards of his real estate and stuff. So I think
he literally did, and
I think that's it for him. That
he just becomes a bit of a twist villain almost, but not really because it's very obvious. Because he literally, even in the beginning, he's like, "Hey, I'm proud of you, buddy. You know, he didn't make it this far last time."
Yeah,
that was. I mean, I know that's foreshadowing up to Max, but
yeah, but I mean, when he comes back from the bathroom and he's smiling, it's like, oh, duh. Especially considering like what happened the last time you guys went into the bathroom, like, duh.
Yeah, what do you think about the side characters?
Are
there any that are memorable? I know we saw Marcia in the inn, which looked very similar to the inn in Spaced.
Well, she does look pretty similar.
No, I meant the inn they stay at looks like Spaced. Like when they go out of the inn, and go into the yard, looks like this yard in Spaced.
Oh, you're talking about the apartment complex. Oh, possibly. It didn't look like the same. It didn't look like the same block or anything like that. I mean, that was like a block in London, so I don't think it was quite the same one. But I can see what you're going for. The part I liked, the cameo I liked was Brian coming back as a bartender, and
wait, which bartender was he?
He was the prodigal sons have returned. He's like the one.
Oh my god, I didn't even recognize him with the hair.
Oh yeah, the hair, and he's a lot older at this point. I mean, 20 plus years at this point. But yeah, it's Brian comes back. He's like the one guy. He's trying to win them over by saying the exact same thing that Gary King was saying. And there's a line that I only now appreciate after having watched Space, was they get the beers from him, and Gary King says, "I don't remember him being that happy." That's a good. I like that. I like that as a little nod to the TV show.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot too.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Oh my god, that's great.
Yeah, it's it's very cute. It's very funny.
Kirbyfan, do you have anything to say about what we talked about? We kind of jumped around a bit.
What, the side characters?
Yeah, or at least
Mad Basil. That's still it.
Yeah,
he's definitely the most memorable. And
I told you not to act on that.
He's the most memorable, and he was in Hot Fuzz.
Oh, was he? Who was he in Hot Fuzz?
That's right. He would.
That's a load of junk.
He would. Balls. It's weird to like hear him like talking.
Yeah, because there's the teacher who literally is just
Pierce Bronson, James Bond, the second James Bond of the series. After the I'm blanking on his name, Mr. Pickle Pants. Roger,
Timothy Dalton?
Dalton, thank you. Timothy Dalton. I almost said Roger. Why did I say Roger?
Yeah, they're pretty much all the side characters just turn into the blanks, which eventually become their all a hive mind of sorts. So they all become one character with maybe some jokes in between. Even Oliver, I would say, just becomes part of the hive mind.
I think they knew that we knew that like how obvious it was with Oliver. Because they were really leaning into like when like Gary King was calling him "Oh man," and Oliver just says, "Hey, keep on the lookout for any blanks," and he just winks. It like, and then like at the very end, like the like he didn't realize that Sam's high school sweetheart had died in a motorcycle accident, and he's just like, did he? And it's very, very clear. I think
You
they
literally
knew that was very
see-
clear.
You literally see, as Gary King heads toward the pub, you literally see Oliver like skip and join him almost, and it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Or the line like, come on, Andy, it can't start without you. You what? We can't start without you. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So there's one point where the teacher explains something, and Oliver goes, "So they're not a threat to us?" Like as if he was rhetorically asking a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to that point, it's really obvious.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like clever foreshadowing and fun little hints, and then there's a lot of. And I mean, I know I say this with one of my favorite jokes from Hot Fuzz being, "I wouldn't want to be him in the morning." But I mean, that line's genius. I'm not taking no for an answer on that. I just feel like so much more of it is here, and
Just imagine
it's so
if
much
he did
more
that.
integral to the story. Like, I wouldn't want to be him in the
Yeah.
morning isn't as big, and even thinking of Shaun of the Dead, like you've got red on you. Like, I mean, that's a hint for the zombies, but it's not a hint that Shaun's gonna become a zombie or anything like that. You
Yeah.
know, who becomes a zombie in Shaun of the Dead? You don't know. Who's gonna die in Hot Fuzz? You don't know. And I mean, like World's End is unpredictable too. It's just there's a lot more blatant foreshadowing that kind of it dampens the ride.
Well, we talked about a lot of side characters, but apparently one of us really wants to talk about Sam.
I don't see how, but go ahead.
This is definitely like the biggest groan that I get
Here,
with this
I'll start it
movie.
for you. You ready? Pixar-spective fans, you might remember a movie called A Bug's Life.
No, it's not. It's not nearly that bad. God, I'm trying to think like what would be a good comparison from Pixar, because in this case you have a character whose entire existence is in relation to two other characters,
Yep.
two other guys.
Ladies
Like,
and
the whole
gentlemen,
thing-
the Cornetto Trilogy has a bit of a problem with writing women.
Shaun of the Dead did all right.
I think Shaun of the
Yeah.
Dead did. I think Shaun of the Dead was the best of the three in this case.
Yes.
Hot Fuzz had some decent women, but like they were not very prominent. And in this case, it's especially when I was like going into like the featurette and stuff, and I was seeing looking because they talk about all the different characters, talking about like where the inspirations came from, and when they get to Sam, the only thing they could say is that like Edgar Wright, I think it was that he knew either he was dating or he knew he had some friends where it was like he and a friend were both dating another friend's sister, and that was the end of Sam. They don't go to anything out with this character. I was like, oh no, that's rough. It's so slapdash in this case.
Yeah.
It's just how
You know what? It's a movie about the boys. Can't have the girls in there.
you're gonna have to go give them personality, please. What is there to with Sam? She's annoyed at Gary King joined the fucking club, and she I guess eventually gets infatuated with Steve, who we barely talked about.
Oh yeah.
The other Andy. But
That's the most memorable thing about him was his role in Hot Fuzz.
I mean, I like
that's unfortunate.
out of all the guys, I think of all the guys that weren't Nick Frost, I like him the best.
I think I liked him.
I mean, I just kind of lump him in with
best
the
as
other
well.
two, but
I give him more of a distinction, but that may be because I was like, oh, he was in Hot Fuzz.
I give him more of a distinction because he survives, but also the Hot Fuzz is valid.
Yeah. But yeah,
I think there is something to get from his character, especially like when they were starting out in the pub crawl. It's clear that he kind of gels a little more with Gary. It's just that he also he gels pretty well, and he doesn't get like fully enabling with him. I don't think most of them really do, but it's clear that he's a little more fun, and he's having a little more fun, like reminiscing about different stories and stuff. And yeah, that, and then at the very end, like he's just it's like he's drunkenly like confessing his love. I do like the awkwardness of like, I am dating a fitness instructor. She's 26.
And I would drop her in a heartbeat.
Like, why are you telling me? Why are you telling me this? Which I kind of like that. Sam is Sam. There's so little to say about Stan. I feel real bad. I feel real bad for the Rosamund Pike. I haven't seen it, but I know she was in Gone Girl, which is like a big like Oscar movie and stuff. I'm sure she's a fantastic actress. She's given almost nothing to work with in this film. It's just a damn shame.
Yeah. Is there anything else we're talking about? I was just thinking maybe the special effects, but we can.
Do we want to talk about the blanks themselves? That would be a good idea, is to talk about like the designs of the blanks.
I mean, design-wise, what really much is there to say? I mean, they
it's
look
just
like people.
the people, only they're blue. I like the dabu dee dabu die.
Yes.
And like literally, it's almost cartoonish when they like reveal their alien forms, and they're just like blue eyes and mouth, and
yeah.
And they also sound like weird police sirens, which also makes me think of Hot Fuzz.
In fact, there was even one moment where right toward the very end, when they're running up to the world's end, the traffic cop from way earlier tries to stop them, and he does and then I think Andy like punches him to the ground, and you can hear that it suddenly transitions into a police siren at the very end, which I kind of like. I like that little sound effect gag.
Yeah, I agree. Other than that, there's not really much to say about them. He's a light at the blanks are a light at the end.
They essentially wake up and
no. Even before that, they're like at the end where it's like, hello, Gary, king of the humans. It's just like it's like a godlight.
The network, performed by Bill Nye, who you might recognize as Sean's stepdad, and also the chief inspector at the very beginning of the.
I thought he sounded familiar.
Mm-hmm. That's Bill Nye. Voice performance, of course. But yeah, he did a fine job with essentially a gag. In this case, it's literally just the alien explaining the master plan, and the remaining humans just being like, "This is awful. What are you talking about?
This is awful. Fuck off."
And then, no, this is awful. We're awful. We're not gonna do it. So yeah, fuck off. Fuck off back to Legoland. Which I like the designs of like. When they get removed, they don't. It's not like a hole. It's like a stump. It's like a Lego stump that they just have to like suction themselves back into, which is an odd design for something like this. But I quite like.
The blue looks interesting.
The blue paint, or blue ink.
You're kind of unfortunate that this is the green movie.
Yeah, it's odd that.
I imagine
alien.
The
didn't look right.
Blanks being green, like green eyes, green. I mean, green blood isn't so bad, but I don't know. The blue is just kind of ominous in a way, I guess. Like it looks healing almost, but it's bad, and that just makes it ominous.
Which is honestly the blanks in general. They're very inviting, except when you cross them.
Yeah, which is perfect for blue.
Yeah.
It just sucks that Hot Fuzz did blue already.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, better.
That's probably a good point. That maybe somewhere along the line they had actually gone with green. I think the trouble also is that green, we think of green as it's the color of like organic and natural, which is the exact opposite of what
polar
they
opposite.
are.
Yeah.
The polar opposite. So I think like that was another thing where if they go with green, it would be like, is that in fact, if they went with green, I have a feeling that our mind would immediately go, is that the mulch? Is that that green paint the humans that they just molted? Like that would be interesting. That would be really like dark too.
Yeah.
Just like powered by the by their old bodies in a very literal and horrific case.
That would have been cool.
Oh God.
Yeah.
It would have been cool. It's just a shame that there's so little green in this. It's not, they're not drinking green beer or anything like that.
I'll have green water.
Green water. I am Nick Frost is Shrek.
Somebody
wants to.
What else to say about this film? I mean, it's all right.
Do you like this film?
Yes.
I remember you both saying you like the film a lot. At
No,
the start.
I do. It's just that it's compared. It's just like Shaun of the Dead, fantastic. Hot Fuzz, a miracle. World's End. It's all right.
I still stand by. I think the movie picks up a lot once the twist happens.
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, it still has problems, but just the story, like the characters are still heavily flawed all around, except like maybe Nick Frost, which might just be because it's Nick Frost, but whatever. Anyway, but still, like just the idea of the movie and just the shock of that twist, like it's actually a shock twist that works. And then the rest of the movie just follows up from that, and it gets crazier and crazier until the end where technology doesn't exist.
Yeah, and there's like a huge explosion. Do we want to talk about the ending? Or is there anything else we want to talk about before that?
I thought I had something before, but I might have just been like story and stuff. It's weird. Like I'm a firm believer that, the story's carried by the characters, and I don't care about the characters, but I like the story.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think part of it is that the overall story is so much bigger than the characters because it's literally an intergalactic alien hive mind, or interplanetary in this case. I'm sorry, because it's within the galaxy, and it's so much bigger than this pub crawl, but it still revolves around like just trying to like shut these out and trying to stop them. It gets tense at the very towards the end, especially when like the entire town is running after them. Like,
one thing I noticed, I forgot about these guys when they talked to the guy who went into the bathroom after being called by his boss.
Oliver.
No,
the Reverend Green.
Reverend Green. Literally when Gary talks to him, these two random guys just tell him like, "Hey, keep your mouth shut. They do what's best for us." Blah, 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 blah. And you think they're blanks, but in the end, you see he has two human, and he's like those two guys.
Yep,
those two exact guys are human.
And Mad Basil.
Yeah, they're the only humans. So I just thought that was funny.
What do we do now? Same thing we were doing before. Go!
I do like the idea. There's a good amount of because I'm into science fiction and stuff and world building. I do like the idea that there are still like a couple humans that are just be like, okay, I'm okay being part of this like slave shit and just trying to appease a network that will mouse me if I dare to cross them. And it's like, yeah, I totally buy that there are people like that. I forgot to mention that since we were talking about space cameos, Reverend Green played by Tires.
I thought
space.
that was him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's we got to see Tires in Shaun of the Dead, So it was fun to see him show up in having a much more prominent role, no less. And it's a very tragic role too, just like marching straight to his death in the toilets.
It would have been better if he went into the toilets dancing in a bike outfit.
Now I'm thinking about Nick Frost in that tight pink shirt and the Joker hat.
I hate this town.
I hate this fucking town. Oh man, it's so sad. There's some good humor in this, but I feel like this is actually like it's in a worse position than Shaun the Dead, just because like they said like outright like we're not your friends when you're enablers, and Gary's just tried to make like a joke about it.
That's a funny word, enabler.
Don't try to don't pull a Gary. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone just like, don't pull a Gary. Oh, is that a thing? It's always been a thing. Like everyone is sick of his shit.
Yep.
And and literally the only reason they're in this is because they literally have no idea what else to do. And once it was well past the point of doing anything to save themselves, Gary King is already hooked. He's already fully committed to this terrible idea.
At least he throws the keys to Nick Frost and Steve.
Minecraft Steve?
Are you talking about the other one that's
Smash
still? Are you talking about the one other person that's still alive?
Yeah. Because at one point
Steve.
they're in a pub and Andy's like, "Hey, all right, we had a good run. 10," and he says 10 pubs was fine. And Gary just goes so close, and then you just can tell from the look in his face he's already too far gone. At least he throws the keys to them and then just runs on his own.
Why do they chase after him?
That's a good question.
No, that's the thing that he Steve even says he just let him go. Like he left you behind. I can't.
Why?
I think it's part of it is just like this sort of toxic friendship that they have, and I think part of what Andy's deal is that he wants some damn closure on this awful relationship. He wants them to like admit that he's wrong. He wants him to like just fess up that this is all awful, that he's being awful, and that he needs help. And he said at the very end, when it was revealed that he has like cuts on his wrist, and or it could be like wounds from drugs and stuff, which is part of why he wouldn't show. He didn't want to show his elbow plate. That Gary King is just in misery, from everything, from the alcoholism, from drugs. He's just stuck, and Andy's almost like the he's like the partner that wants to save him, even if it just hurts him at the very end. And there's a sadness in that as well. And
I know they were really close during high school, and that's maybe sure. I don't see any kind of chemistry. Nothing like Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz.
The only reason you see them together is because of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
I mean, depending on how shallow we're being, it's good enough.
Do we have enough time to talk about the ending?
4 minutes.
Oh crap!
we went fully well into like the toxicity of
which is I will say I've some thoughts about the ending. They kind of the blanks just go back and turn on, and they try and make a whole like, I guess, references to discrimination with the blanks.
It was so out of nowhere.
Yeah, out of nowhere. And I just feel like, okay.
They do talk about like how, I mean, they were talking about like how like pig-headed humanity is. At Andy's monologue, he was saying like we really can be like terrible people, and I think we were just trying to do that. It's odd.
My big thing is that how can you tell that they're a blank?
Yeah, how? Like they all walked in the bar and literally they all look like humans.
Yeah, the bartender says, "I'll give you water, not them." Like, how can you tell?
How do you know? Do they have blue?
The one clue that I got was that Gary King, when he entered the place, there's a sign right outside that says no blanks, and he takes the sign, and when he enters the bar, he throws it right into the ground. So it's clear that like it's clear that at least some of them are blank.
So then, how does he know that Gary King?
How does he know that Gary King is not a blank?
And those 4 are specifically blank.
Yeah, like none of them, none of the people could tell. Is it a licensed blank spotter? What's going on?
I guess they put it in there just to have this cool looking thing, but I can't believe that made it in the final script.
Yeah, it honestly kind of would have been cooler if we didn't know what happened to Gary.
Honestly, I agree.
I don't agree. I also don't agree. I think that not the blank themselves. I don't think I know about like seeing those 4 again, but like if to see like Gary King actually like go teetotal and actually just stop drinking and like go like in the callback to what Andy was talking about in the bar was like going up to a bunch of big ugly bastards in war paint and saying, "Can I have and asking for water?" That takes balls, and he's learning that for himself. And in this case, in a very in a much more violent sense with the blank and everything like that. I like that. I like that he's finally fixing himself, for God's sake, and he's finally going clean. One
note about the ending. I want to just say real quick. In the beginning of the shot of the montage, you see Gary looking at the hill right when he says, I knew this was going to be the best moment of my life. And you know what? It never got better than that. You see young Andy sit by him, and then he just passes out and falls, and he gets out of the shot.
Yeah.
In the end of the movie, you see them both Gary and Andy on that hill together.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was like a cool visual storytelling moment.
One final nod to Simon Pegg and Nick Frost being a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have other movies. There's Paul, is just not directed by Edgar Wright.
Yeah, that's
so
the
don't
point.
Care about Paul.
Speaking of points, we're out of time.
There we go. There's your best
literally
segment,
spent most of this talking about the toxicity of Gary King.
Speaking of toxicity, my timer is toxic. So we're gonna cancel
toxicity,
it.
Final thoughts.
The air isn't toxic.
I'll have to call back to our very first podcast episode.
Oh wow, that's cool. I like that reference.
I could have went with a single touch could kill you, like with Monsters Inc., but I went with Toy Story.
No, that doesn't work quite as well.
All right. Okay. So final
thoughts.
I never thought I'd see the day Kirbyfan says she likes something less than Flick.
What?
Oh, there we go.
All right. Final thoughts.
Random, you go.
Okay. The World's End was good, but not as good as I remember it being. I still think I like Gary King more than Scott Pilgrim. But you bring a lot of the flaws you're right about, Kirbyfan. The story doesn't revolve around the characters. The story just picks up at that twist. It just keeps getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And the characters are just around that. And it's great. Like, I love the twist. I love what they do with it. I like... The action is pretty good, too. We didn't really talk about that much, but the action and the fight scenes were great, especially the one with Nick Frost fighting. And also the one with Nick Frost where he punches the ring, punches a woman's stomach and gets a ring, the ring that she ate. We didn't talk about that one. That was a good moment.
I just fought to get my
Oh, yeah.
I just fought to get my ring back from inside a woman's tummy.
Oh yeah, that's right. He had a divorce. That's right. That was another part of the twist.
Nick Frost's character was probably one of the best, but only because it was Nick Frost. But yeah, I like it, but I think it's flawed.
I thoroughly agree. I feel like I might like it a little more, but so this is an odd. Because it's a very odd thing because it's very clear that like Gary King is the protagonist, and we have a protagonist who is insidious, just awful, horrible. Not awful as in like. I don't think it's awful in terms of writing. It's awful in terms of character and personality. That he's just horrific. Just how self-centered he is. That just how much the world revolves around him. It just makes me like cringe just watching and just seeing like how and all his friends just like. Like 20 years, like finally they're just sick of it. Like they're just done with him. Although by the looks of it, it seems like they hadn't seen each other in 20 years. So it's just sadness in that case. And yet I still think it was funny. I still think this is still a comedy. It doesn't sound like it much the way we're talking about it. But I still think this movie is very funny. It definitely like really ramps up the callbacks, foreshadowings. It is perhaps I will agree. That like that all of that does start to go into the film detriment. Just because of how packed it is. But I can't say I didn't laugh. I can't say I didn't laugh hard. Especially with Nick Frost punching a window. The timing of that and everything, it's glorious. All the odd jokes that they throw in, all the odd callbacks and stuff. And especially like it just felt like wrapping everything up, like bringing back folks from space and from older from other films. Steven, the friend Steven that we did talk about him. Patty Considine, Constantine. I don't know how to pronounce it. The other Andy. It was felt nice to just see everyone like back at it and just trying for one last thing. And it's clear that this is this kind of passionate for the for the directors for director and writer, that they're just like we're in our 40s because they were at the time, and it is there's a certain point where this feels more like reliving the glory days of Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, and like just trying to explore that feeling of that sort of like midlife crisis and like what that can do to a person. It's a very fascinating movie in that respect. It's I can't make a very good defense for Gary King, other than that I think this is more of a character study than it is like actually trying to make him relatable, because he's not. He's awful. But that's my thing. Kirbyfan, you may do your rant.
Go ahead.
I mean,
I
don't know.
You already did it. I know you already did it.
I don't like Gary King, but I like the movie. I thought it was funny. I thought it was well written. I thought it was well paced. I thought it was well acted. Had some great special effects, cool music. Nick Frost is good. Simon Pegg is good. the actors do a good job with what they're given. As my problem with the movie is, there have been plenty of movies that we've seen with just not good people as their main characters that I've liked. I talk about Cars, Lightning McQueen. That's prime example of an unlikable main character. But though, just everything revolving around Gary King, start to finish, and the characters just letting it happen and being along for it. That's what my problem. This isn't even. It's not how it works. Like, nobody would have. I mean, I don't know. Well, no. This is live action. I can do this. Nobody would have went with Gary King on this thing. He tells them about it. Nobody's gonna. He gets like the points built up on Peter's. No.
There it is.
It's Gary King. It's so unfortunate because these other characters, I feel like they can work if they were just allowed to. And again, the movie's really funny and really witty. It's just not Gary King. And it's so sad because I love Simon Pegg so much, but I do really like it. I do wholeheartedly agree with what Wash said as a finale to the Cornetto Trilogy. I think this is a perfect idea. Especially getting everybody to, you got people from Spaced, you got people from Sean, you got people from Hot Fuzz. You know, this is just the perfect conclusion to a trilogy of films that when they started, Edgar Wright didn't even realize they were a trilogy. It's just,
that's very true.
It's a great way to just, it should have been a great way to just wrap it all up, but all of that was it was all concentrated onto one of the most toxic characters. I mean, this isn't how I interpret it, but honestly, a legit interpretation is that the people that stick to Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and Space are annoying. And it's like, no, those are just great movies. But whatever. Okay. Point is, I still like the movie a lot. Not even kind of. I do like it a lot. I just don't like Gary King. That's all.
That is 100% understandable. I cannot make I cannot make a very good defense for Gary King as a character. I still say that he's important for the story, that they're trying to tell. It just hurts a lot watching.
Yeah, that just went way too far.
Yeah,
they just went way too far. If you thought Lightning McQueen was too far, you ain't seen Gary King.
I still can't get over you said that Flick was better. Like, I can understand Lightning McQueen and Remy, but
I mean, Flick is nothing, right? He's just nothing. You can't even say anything about Flick. Gary King is offensive. The one thing that is worse than nothing is offensive.
And yet you picked a
Bug's Life over Cars 2.
Life.
That's immediately what I thought of too, Watch.
I did what?
Yet you said A Bug's Life is worse than Cars 2.
Yeah.
I know. That's the whole movie, all right? There's
We're not gonna,
I don't want to think about A Bug's Life. I don't want to think about A Bug's Life.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on.
If we don't move on, I'm gonna bring the Sarah voice back.
Speaking of A Bug's Life, we have a ranking to do now. And this is gonna be this is actually gonna be very interesting to see where this lines up. Considering all of our different opinions on this, I'm very interested in this. But
mine's pretty predictable.
Let us what in the hell? Is that right? Oh, okay. So I said, because I wrote in, I completely forgot that we watched Dead Right. So I wrote in, for that spot I wrote in Dead, and I was like, why is Shaun of the Dead in last place? So I didn't calculate the ranking, but just from the looks of it, there's almost the only major thing is that Kirbyfan prefers Shaun of the Dead over Hot Fuzz. Otherwise, the average ranking is from the bottom up: Dead Right, Scott Pilgrim, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz. I'm gonna start with Kirby on this. Kirby, is The World's End better than Dead Right?
I like the movie. I just don't like Gary King.
I know,
Yes,
I
of course
know.
it's
I just
better.
wanted to.
Of course it's better.
I know. I know.
Like,
I know you do.
I appreciate Dead Right, okay? I like it. I actually
We just
like
haven't
Dead
had
Right.
this.
But
We just haven't
come
had
on,
this
it's
rant
night
in a
and
long
day.
time.
Come on. Dead Right is one of those like borderline movies where it's like if you don't like it,
Yeah.
fine, but if you like it at all, that's when you put it over. I like the movie. Just really, I like Dead Right more than I like Gary King. Is that what you wanted to hear? I like Dead Right more than
Okay.
Flick. Is that what you wanted to hear?
Oh God.
Now we're getting into the Pixar spectrum. Okay, so
I like Dead Right more than Sarah.
Sarah.
I'll save you. Okay.
So, random
Yes.
is The World's End better than Dead Right?
Yes.
I agree. Moving on. We all have Scott Pilgrim, and I think this is gonna be the interesting part. So, random. Have you made up your mind?
No.
I knew it. I
I thought I
sense it in
knew
his
the
voice.
answer, but if you don't know yet, okay.
I
won't
don't
say,
know.
I won't say anything.
I do not know.
I mean, I know my
I'm-
answer.
The thing is, I don't know if I'm gonna know until I watch Scott Pilgrim again.
I know my answer. If
Oh,
you
that's
wanna
a that's a
you
very
want to
good
get me
point,
out of the
yeah.
way because I know my answer.
Okay, you know what? I'll let Kirbyfan go first. Kirbyfan, is The World's End better than Scott Pilgrim?
No.
Okay. Why do you say that? I think
Gary
we already
King.
explained it in this whole episode.
That's just it. And I mean, look, even if I mean, this is very shallow, but I mean, even if I hated a lot of the stuff about Shaun of the Dead, wow, a lot of the stuff about Scott Pilgrim on a similar level that I did Gary King, the visual effects.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I don't strongly. There's not that much that I strongly, really, even that much that I disliked about Scott Pilgrim. Really, I like basically all of it enough. And I mean, The World's End is similar-ish. Just all my problems, Gary King, and it amounts to me liking Scott Pilgrim more.
Okay. So I'll buy Random some more time.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna confuse him even more. Because I'm gonna say yes. The World's End is better than Scott Pilgrim. Barely. Barely. It is so close together. So. And in fact, just to confuse Random even more,
Oh my god.
I barely like Gary King more than Scott Pilgrim.
Poor Random.
My main defense with this comparison is that Scott Pilgrim didn't learn, like, he barely learned jack shit at the very end, and he just continued on with a very toxic relationship. Like, the two of them were not gonna get that well together, and I don't think that they should have been together. I firmly say it that Scott Pilgrim should have just went on his own and just fixed himself, because he's just ruined two women's lives, including an underage girl. Although it is nice that Knives is on her own at the end of that. Like, good on you, Knives, to just get the hell out of there. Beyond that, there's quite a lot. Yeah, there's quite a lot that I enjoy about Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim had the better side characters and stuff. I think The World's End is more structurally sound. That it's better paced than Scott Pilgrim in this case. I feel like I can get into it more when it's just just oddly, it's funny and oddly sad at the same time. I like that Gary King actually is continuing to fight his alcoholism at the by the end of the film, and just he's reliving his glory days in a different way. He's reliving his glory ways in a non-toxic way, where he's actually moving forward and having adventures of his own instead of being stuck in 1990. Like, fine, I'm okay with that, and the film is a better case study, a character study of Gary King. But that's my thing. I think you're going to already guess where it sits against Shaun of the Dead, though. But I bought enough time. Actually, Random, do you need a little more time? Because I can make it quick with what I think about Shaun of the Dead.
Go ahead. Take it.
Okay,
please.
I know. I could tell just how much you're puzzling over this. Yes. So is The World's End better than Shaun of the Dead? No, I reversed my opinion. I used to think that I used to put The World's End over Shaun of the Dead. Not any longer. Having rewatched Shaun of the Dead for this podcast, I was very, very surprised with how smart Shaun of the Dead actually is. I was thinking of, like, too much of like dumb jokes in there, and trust me, there's a lot of dumb jokes, but also there's a lot of dumb jokes in Hot Fuzz. But also, like, there's also that level of sadness, and the film can go into really dark places, and it goes to dark places without like trying to tell a joke to ruin the moment, which The World's End does a little too often. So yeah, Shaun of the Dead, like, congrats, you've unseated The World's End, and I apologize for not taking you seriously. Random, I can't buy you any more time.
I don't know.
All right. I can talk about why I like Hot Fuzz more. There's been a distinct lack of Hot Fuzz.
Sure.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't even reach Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, none of us reached Hot Fuzz.
Spoiler alert! It doesn't. I will tell you, spoiler alert. It doesn't beat Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz for me, no matter what. So.
All right, it's
oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Again, like, for me, Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz are like as close as Scott Pilgrim and World's End is for watch. So if it doesn't even come close to Hot Fuzz, it's about as far from Shaun of the Dead. But I can say Hot Fuzz is a lot smarter. Man, just actually think about all, like, the random foreshadows and nods and stuff that World's End makes, and none of them are even as close to as, like, in your face or funny as I wouldn't want to be him in the morning. I love that line so much. I haven't stopped thinking about it, like, since I saw the movie. It's such a dumb line. Why is it so funny?
It's kind of like in Shaun of the Dead, where the Shaun gets hit by a soccer ball, and he says to the kid, "You're dead." I think
what's wrong with your hand? Someone bit me. Why did they bite you? I don't know. I didn't ask.
There's a funnier, like, concept in Shaun of the Dead, where it's literally just like, what if you just, like, woke up and the world ended?
You go to the store to buy some Cornetto and you don't even notice.
Yeah, you should buy some Cornetto. Amazing. I love that. It's that great tracking shot of just, like, walking back and forth. Amazing.
All right, Random, we bought you more than enough time.
Yeah.
Remember, your opinion can change later. This is
that's what I'm about to say. I gotta rewatch Scott Pilgrim again.
Yeah.
Before I make this decision thoroughly in the finale.
So, Random, do you think The World's End is better than Scott Pilgrim?
As of now, no.
Okay.
My gut is telling me no. And it's telling me no for a bunch of reasons. I know I said Gary King I liked a little bit more than Scott Pilgrim. I still stand by that, but I still think he was more enjoyable, and I do like the writing and stuff. in The World's End. I agree, it's structurally sound. I think the visuals were more interesting in Scott Pilgrim. I think the side characters were more memorable and interesting in Scott Pilgrim. Even the one and done, except for the twins.
Oh yeah.
Because even like the first boss, I still remember more than half of the hive minds.
Hey, that one guy.
I like the video game jokes and style. And
it also
was
had
fun.
a vegan.
It did have a vegan. That I thought of that joke immediately when you guys were quoting, thinking of things to quote. I thought of the vegan police.
The vegan police. That's right.
I know the ending you didn't like, and how you say Gary King moved on his own adventures, which would make sense if his blanks weren't the childhood friends. So in a way, that shows to me that even though he doesn't drink alcohol anymore, he still hasn't completely moved on.
See, that's super interesting, because one of the best things about Shaun of the Dead is that he didn't let go of Ed, but it works there. And I agree with what you're saying here. That's super interesting. I gotta think about why.
And again, this could totally change. I could be like, never mind, what was I saying? I was on crack. World's End 10 times better. Because there is some pacing problems with Scott Pilgrim, too. I think they're both flawed movies, but as of now, and they're still good movies, but very flawed movies. With not the best protagonists either.
Yeah.
So they're
That's why I say they're razor thin. Like, I could change my mind on this.
Yeah, I could change my mind when I rewatch Scott Pilgrim. I could not. Right now, my gut's telling me go with Scott Pilgrim being the better film.
Okay. All right. Well, that is there, and it's very thankful that, like, the only difference with our list is that, like, we have two places that just get swapped over very neatly, because that makes that means I don't have to actually calculate the averages. So, in this case, our new average from the bottom up is Dead Right, The World's End, Scott Pilgrim, Shaun of the Dead, and Hot Fuzz. Next week, or 2 weeks, the next episode, we have one more movie.
Yeah. Baby Driver.
And we're done. Baby Driver, 2017's Baby Driver.
Which at the time was my number one favorite when it first came out.
Was it? I didn't...
It was my... Well,
I did not know...
When it first came out, it definitely was my favorite. Because it was an Edgar Wright movie I saw in theaters, and a lot of external and internal factors about the film. I was obsessed with it. But we'll get more into that next time.
So, I am worried. Starting with Shaun of the Dead, every movie that we've seen, I've liked less than the previous.
I didn't even notice that. Wait, no, not Dead Right.
That's why I said starting with Shaun of the Dead.
Starting with Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, that's right. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, you have pretty much. Yeah, you have like the chronological list.
Maybe I'm the one who can't stop living in the past. Am I Gary? No.
No, you're not.
No.
But this is going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting episode, and I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
This was the only Edgar Wright movie I saw in theaters.
We're also making podcast history because, unlike CinemaSon, where it was you two that hadn't seen the movie, I'm going into this one blind. This is the first movie that I've never seen. Which is going to be interesting.
Especially going to be interesting once you rewatch it and you start to catch all the little details.
Oh yeah, I want to watch it. I want to watch it a couple times before we do. I mean,
oh really?
If I like it, if I don't like it, I'm watching it once. But it could be possible with how my rankings are going. But I want to watch it. If I like it, I want to watch it a couple times before we do the next episode.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be very interesting if it's just like Mr. Baby Driver. It's so much worse than Gary King.
So here's I like Gary King less than Flick, but I like Flick less than Baby Driver.
If that happens,
and you know what? This is also
it's like this triangle. It's like a hate triangle. Kirbyfan hate triangle.
We'll see. Either way, let's wrap this up.
Yes, because everything we've watched, Edgar Wright directed and co-written. So now we're gonna come to a point. We're gonna come to a film where Edgar Wright has actually been. This idea had been on his mind for a very long time. What was it, like 2000? I think it was like right after, might be like right after like Shaun the Dead, and it's just been occupying his mind for a while. I really like music. What if the whole damn thing is other people's music? And that's what we're gonna talk about. Baby Driver.
Next time, I'm
Next
random
time.
I'm random bystander here.
I'm the Wash.
There's only one thing left for me to do. Go!